What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Stephen D, and we are live right now to give you firsthand account and reaction of the NFL investigation. What I wanted to do is, number one, I am Stephen D. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Stephen D SKPL. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. I wanted to be able to discuss what transpired today from the organization and kind of give my thoughts of it. We were having a great conversation on the morning show this morning on Clock Blockers, home of the number one Miami fan morning show. You can catch each weekday at 9 a.m. to noon right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. What I wanted to do right now is just give you my 2 cents worth about this whole situation and kind of start everything from beginning to end. I want to let everybody know everything that's been said. There's been more statements to release since the original statement was released. And so I want to get all the statements out there, tell you kind of how I feel, and then let you guys go at it within the comments section of the YouTube page here. And we'll talk more about it as a panel tomorrow on Wildin' Out Wednesday when I get to bring all the fans that want to come on and talk about this. We'll do that tomorrow right here on the number one Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers. So what I want to do right now is if you're watching, hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Give us the big thumbs up. We can't grow without your help. All right, let's get right into it, shall we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everything that has been discussed already and allow you, the fans, to kind of interpret while this is going on. You could do the live chat here. You could do it in the comments section. And then I'm going to just tell you how I feel about each thing and kind of break it down in its entirety. Okay. All right. So here we go. This is the statement released by the NFL a little bit this morning, a few hours ago. Okay. NFL announces findings and discipline following independent investigation of integrity of the game policy violations by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell today notified the Miami Dolphins of the discipline imposed for violations of the NFL policies relating to the integrity of the game. Say that 5 times fast. Today's announcement follows a 6-month investigation covering events from 2019 to 2022 that was led by former U.S. Attorney and SEC Chair Mary Jo White and a team of lawyers from the Dubois law firm. I think I'm saying that correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. The commissioner expressed his deep appreciation to Ms. White and her colleagues for their comprehensive and objective review of these matters. The investigation focused on 2 subjects. Number 1, whether the Dolphins violated league rules prohibiting tampering with a player and a coach under contract to other clubs. Number 2, whether during the 2019 season, the Dolphins intentionally lost games to improve the club's draft position in the 2020 draft. And whether the Dolphins chairman and managing general partner, Mr. Stephen Ross, offered head coach Brian Flores financial incentives or otherwise encouraged him to lose games. The commissioner thanked the Dolphins for the cooperation provided by the club and its leadership. Let's get right into it. Tampering. The investigation conclusively establishes violations of the anti-tampering policy on 3 separate occasions. Number 1, the Dolphins had impermissible communications with quarterback Tom Brady during the 2019-2020 season while he was under contract with the New England Patriots. Those communications began as early as 2019 and continued throughout the 2019 season and postseason. These numerous and detailed discussions were conducted by Mr. Beal, who in turn kept Mr. Ross and other Dolphins executives informed of his discussions with Mr. Brady. Let me just state with this first part, I find very interesting for the standpoint that Stephen Ross came up publicly, I believe in that time, stating, why would we have discussions with Mr. Tom Brady? Why is that a thing? Why is that something that we would do? He's very happy where he's at. And because of tampering policies, we haven't had any discussions. I also find it funny that Mr. Ross had Mr. Beal, who's supposed to be next in line to own this team, do the communication for the team? Because in theory, I want to say at that time in 2019, did he have any affiliation publicly with the team? I think that he was already approved as a next owner, and because of that, maybe vice chairman. But what did he do on a day-to-day basis? Now, I'm not obviously going at that. I think Mr. Bill is innocent of, the charges probably demanded or the investigation concluded because he has an affiliation with the team. What I'm getting at is Bill is obviously doing everything through Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross is the puppeteer. He's making things go. It's very interesting to see that here, right? The other thing also is he had communication with Tom Brady. Tom Brady clearly wasn't happy at the end of 2019 into 2020. So I'll get more into this a little bit, but it's funny that Tom Brady didn't receive any punishment here. And I'm not saying that we didn't deserve punishment, because we clearly did. But I had to go back and think about this morning. I'm like, well, Tom Brady probably should be receiving punishment too, because it's a two-way street. In order for a conversation to happen, both parties have to be involved in that conversation. So why isn't Tom Brady being somebody who is in trouble here and being suspended for some games or fined or something? Some sort of penalty for Tom Brady, I think, is warranted, because it takes two sides to the coin to have this conversation, right? Number two, the Dolphins again had impermissible communications with both Mr. Brady and his agent during and after the 2021 season, while he was under contract to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These discussions began no later than early December 2021 and focused on Mr. Brady becoming a limited partner in the Dolphins and possibly serving as a football executive, although at times they also included the possibility of his playing for the Dolphins. Both Messrs, Ross and Beal, were active participants in these discussions. This, I believe, is, could be the yacht, obviously, experience that people keep on talking about, where they were on a yacht. Maybe Tom Brady was there. That's possible. I also feel that some of the possibilities that I find very interesting to that is that Brady, was having this discussion, obviously after, look, he retired. He's straight retired. And I'm not saying that these discussions happened before or after he came back. Clearly they did. I don't want that to get lost in translation. I just want the thing to know that the point to be found out that Tom Brady was also in these discussions. I think that's important here. I don't want to get that lost in translation, right? And I also find it funny that Beal and Ross were obviously a part of these conversations. Ross is doing whatever he can to make this a successful NFL team. Good, bad, or indifferent, whether you believe in the losing on whatever comes to be, however you feel morally. I do believe that Ross wants to make the Miami Dolphins a winning organization. Now, has he gone about it the right way or a way that I would approve of? In no way, shape, or form do I agree with some of what he has done. But I don't think he's any different from maybe what other owners have done in the past. He just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Let me just throw that out there as well, right? All right, number three. In January of 2022, the Dolphins had impermissible communications with Don Yee, the agent for New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton, about having Mr. Payton serve as Miami's head coach. Miami did not seek consent from New Orleans to have these discussions, which occurred before Coach Payton announced his decision to retire as head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Following that announcement, Miami requested permission to speak to Coach Payton for the first time, which New Orleans declined to grant. This is something that I find very interesting. I clearly think that what the Dolphins wanted to do, just to talk about it from a football perspective here for a second, the Miami Dolphins wanted to go after Harbaugh or Payton. Those were the two guys that they clearly wanted up front. McDaniel was never the first guy. He was somebody that was, this is what you're going to be left with if you are not able to get these two guys. So I think Harbaugh and Payton were definitely 1A and 1B for what they wanted. When they couldn't get those two guys, McDaniel became the guy. Let me state for the record, I like McDaniel. I think McDaniel's really, really, I think the ceiling's very, very high for him, and I'm super excited about the season. Just want to throw that out there. Again, am I mad that Stephen Ross was doing something that I believe other owners in the past have done? No, I'm not. I'm really not. I just, again, he did not clearly think the ramifications for everything that he has done. And he didn't go about it in a way that would allow him to be, innocent or be able to have the plausible deniability like other owners in the past have done. Now, the other thing to this is this is a full-on investigation. So what are you going to say to that, right? Let's keep on going. The investigators found tampering violations of unprecedented scope and severity, Commissioner Roger Goodell says. By the way, I want to say, Roger Goodell, I think you're an utter and complete hypocrite, but that's neither here or there. I know of no prior instance of a team violating the prohibition on tampering with both a head coach and star player to the potential detriment of multiple other clubs over a period of several years. Similarly, I know of no prior instance in which ownership was so directly involved in these violations. I think that nobody's gotten caught. I think it is an unwritten thing. I'm sure it happens all the time. I'm sure it'll happen less now that all this has come out. But don't believe for a fact or for a second that Stephen Ross is the first owner to do this. He is not, in no way, shape, or form. And Goodell, by the way, is trying to keep his hands clean in all this for many different reasons. And if you want to go to TD Fin's Talk channel, shout out to TD Fin's Talk, he's going to clearly get into it more in talking about the NFL trying to go about what they want to do legally and make gambling, something that they can do on their own, right? And so they need, obviously, the federal stuff to do all that. TD will get into all that. But I think it's a clear concern for the league that Stephen Ross obviously affiliated himself with this, right? I'm super excited from the standpoint to see what comes out of this. I don't think excited is probably the right word. I'm super interested to know what comes out of this because I think there's more to this than meets the eye. NFL is a multi-billion-dollar, sport, and gambling is a part of it. And I think that this will in turn have something to say when it comes to the tanking, which we're about to get into. So just throw that in the back of your minds here too, right? Okay, let's go into the tanking to improve draft position. The investigation also addressed whether the Dolphins intentionally lost games during the 2019 season to improve the club's draft position in the 2020 draft and whether Mr. Ross offered financial incentives or otherwise encouraged the head coach to do so. The investigation conclusively established the following. Number one, the Dolphins did not intentionally lose games during the 2019 season. Let me state that for everybody one more time. The Dolphins did not intentionally lose games during the 2019 season. Now, we're going to find out why. It wasn't for a lack of wanting to with certain people within the organization, but let's go in here. Okay? Nor did anyone at the club, including Mr. Ross, instruct Coach Flores to do so. No witness contended otherwise. The Dolphins competed hard to win every game, including at the end of the season when they beat Cincinnati and New England, despite worsening Miami's position in the 2020 draft. I want to read the second sentence of here and the number one. Nor did anyone at the club, including Mr. Ross, instruct Coach Flores to do so. We're going to come back to number two because I want to go straight to number three. One comment, okay, is claimed offer by Mr. Ross to pay Coach Flores $100,000 to lose games, as to which there are differing recollections about the wording, timing, and context. I want to state for the record, why I pause here, that both of those sentences contradict each other. Okay? Because clearly in number one, it says, nor did anyone at the club, including Mr. Ross, instruct Coach Flores to lose games intentionally. But they clearly state here in number three that there was a comment to claim to be a made offer by Mr. Ross to pay Coach Flores to lose 100,000 games, as to which there are differing recollections about the wording, timing, and context. However phrased, such a comment was not intended or taken to be serious offer, nor was the subject pursued in any respect by Mr. Ross or anyone else at the club. How I interpret that, by the way, they contradict each other. Just want to throw that out there. How I interpret that is that Stephen Ross, this is how I assume it, hey, nudge, nudge. If you lose games, maybe I'll give you $100,000 per loss. You know how that goes. Whatever. I'm sure it was something to that effect. And Coach Flores, being all serious in his demeanor, that's not going to happen. And I want to come back to that. Pause that right there, because let me go back in here. Go to number 2. On a number of occasions during the 2019 season, Mr. Ross expressed his belief that the Dolphins' position in the upcoming 2020 draft should take a priority over the team's win-loss record. These comments were made most frequently to team president and CEO Tom Garfinkel, but were also made to GM Chris Greer, Senior Vice President Brandon Shore, and head coach Brian Flores. These comments, which he took to be suggestions that he lose games, troubled Coach Flores and led him to express his concerns in writing to senior club executives, each of whom assumed Coach Flores each of whom assured Coach Flores that everyone, including Mr. Ross, supported him in building a winning culture in Miami. After this, Mr. Ross no longer made any such comments to Coach Flores. Number 1, and that second sentence contradicts everything in 2 and everything in 3. Ross wanted to tank. There's no denying that, according to 2 and 3. Now, if you read the one sentence in that first section, you will clearly say, nor did anyone at the club, including Mr. Ross, instruct Flores to do so about losing games intentionally. But they clearly, in number 2 and 3, go into Mr. Ross told everybody, win-loss record does not mean anything. Draft position does. And how do you get a higher draft position? You lose games. Now, as a fan base, let me pause this by saying, whether you choose to support Stephen Ross in the tanking, or you choose to say the integrity of the game and Brian Flores is more important, I don't believe that any which way is right or wrong. Okay? I'm going to play the fence on this one, and you can call me whatever you want. I feel like it's you can say it's a moral thing. You can say it's this is how you should operate a team, whatever the case is. However you feel. I don't think that Brian Flores was wrong in anything that he went about doing. And to me, he sent an email to his upper management. They addressed it at the time. Stephen Ross never addressed it again to Flores, according to that. And it wasn't until after he was fired, which we can get into more of that here in a minute, that he then obviously placed got a lawyered up, decided to go to court with it. When it comes to Stephen Ross, am I mad at him as an owner for trying to do everything in his power to win? I have to admit, I want an owner that wants to win. I think that's a blanket statement. It can be chosen. You can take it any way you want to. For asking my personal opinion of it, I just want to win. And I also don't put past that other teams, including ones in our division, have cheated to win. So let me say that. I think that's a fair statement to say. Doesn't mean I support cheating. Doesn't mean I'm against it. It just clearly means I want to do whatever the other teams are doing in our division to win, or whatever the other teams are doing in order to get to that next level. I think it's a fair playing field at that point. Personal opinion. Okay. That's how I'll probably go about it. And I'm sure I'll get killed and criticized for, you support. I don't believe that I support cheating. I want to win football games. Am I mad at Ross for doing it? No. Here's what I'm mad at Stephen Ross for. What I'm actually, let me finish up this thing, and then I'll go into how I feel about Stephen Ross. Okay. Every club is expected to make a good faith effort to win every game, Commissioner Goodell stated. The integrity of the game and public confidence in professional football demand no less. An owner or senior executive must understand the weight that his or her words carry and the risk that a comment will be taken seriously and acted upon, even if that is not the intent or expectation, even if it is made in jest and not intended to be taken seriously. Comments suggesting that draft position is more important than winning can be misunderstood and carry with them an unnecessary potential risk to the integrity of the game. The comments made by Mr. Ross did not affect Coach Flores' commitment to win, and the Dolphins competed to win every game. Coach Flores is to be commended for not allowing any comment about the relative importance of draft position to affect his commitment to win throughout the season. I'm not a huge fan of Roger Goodell. 100% agree with him here. Coach Flores did not get bullied from the standpoint of, I don't care what you say, I'm going to do that team was gutted. You go back and look at that team 4 weeks before training camp opened and what that team clearly was on the day of opening game, week 1. They gutted that team. They did everything they could so that they would not win football games in Miami. And Flores took that team and won some football games that he probably had no business winning. None. So I have to give Flores the benefit of the doubt there that he is a coach that no matter what you give him, will choose to win football games. Will do his best to win football games. How I feel about it, right? Now, with that being said, goodness well, Roger Goodell, that this is not the first team that's tried to do stuff like this. This is not the first time that it's happened. This is clearly a coach who at the end of an organization, an owner and a coach that are in very difficult positions, and all because the owner couldn't bring in the right personnel to do it. There are a million head coaches, Stephen Ross, that would have clearly tanked for you to lose. There are plenty of coaches that wanted to win too as well, right? However you went about it, you based your decision to bring in personnel and you contradicted yourself every which way to Sunday. And we're in this position now because of one person. I just want to throw that out there. Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross is the reason we are in this position. Has nothing to do with Flores. Flores is not a rat. He is not a snitch. You can say what you want. You can feel indifferent. It is your right to do so. But I do believe, in my personal opinion, that Flores went about it every which way to Sunday the correct way. He typed emails to the upper management. He allowed them to know he was uneasy with the feeling of losing on purpose. He did not like that. The integrity for him is not something that he was okay with. And after he was let go, he didn't go straight to the media. He didn't go straight, on his own, written his own account. He decided, what legal action do I have at this point? Decided to put everything in the legal stuff that he needed to put out, that clearly there was everything. Everything that he could get out, he got out. I have no problem with him doing it the way that he did it. He went about it the right way. He felt some type of way. Who am I to say if Flores feels like this or not? I personally feel that Flores felt like that he went about it the right way. We get mad all the time for players going to the media. We did it today. We talked about Preston Williams. Miami Dolphin fans talked about Preston Williams being on Twitter last night because he said I just want an opportunity. But the moment that Flores goes about it the right way, doesn't go to social media, doesn't go to podcast, whatever, he went afterwards, after there was stuff in there. You have to understand, that's just how I personally feel about it. All right. And you can say what you want. That's just how I feel about it. Now, let's finish going up because there's more to this. Okay. Based on the findings and conclusions, the following discipline will be imposed. The Dolphins will forfeit the club's first-round selection of the 2023 NFL Draft and the third-round selection of the 2024 NFL Draft. Mr. Ross is suspended through October 17th 2022. During this period, he may not be present at the Dolphins facility and may not represent the club at any team or NFL event. He may not attend any league meeting prior to the annual meeting in 2023, is removed from all league committees indefinitely, and fined $1.5 million. Mr. Bruce Beal, by the way, Mr. Bruce Beal is the person that will be taking over ownership of the team, is next in line when Stephen Ross decides to step down as owner, whenever that be. And that's already been league approved. Will that be something that the league further looks into as we move forward? I think it will. I'll talk more about that during the morning show in the coming mornings. But that is something that is a totally different other conversation that I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Mr. Beal, Dolphins vice chairman and limited partner, may not attend any league meeting for the remainder of the 2022 season and is fined $500,000. This discipline is informed by the competition committee's clear guidance that more stringent discipline, including suspensions, should be imposed for tampering violations to deter future violations and to safeguard the integrity of the game. Mr. Ross came out with a statement, as well as Brian Flores, that I don't think some of you have all seen. So let's get into that before I finish up. Statement from Stephen Ross. The independent investigation cleared our organization on any issues related to tanking. Not for a lack of trying there, Mr. Ross. Just want to throw that out there. And all of Brian Flores' other allegations. You mean the ones about racism? Call it what it is. As I have said all along, these allegations were false, malicious, and defamatory. What are you talking about? They clearly said it in the thing that you made a statement. Now, how that statement was perceived by different parties, that is up for debate. And it also said in the investigation, in the report, that the moment that he wrote an email, there was no further talk about it, which means there was before, Mr. Ross. I can't keep defending the man. I can't do it. I love the Miami Dolphins. I will forever love the Miami Dolphins. They're the greatest football team as far as I'm concerned. I'm a fan till the day that I die. But Mr. Ross is wrong on this, clearly. As I said all along, these allegations were false, malicious, and defamatory. And this issue is now put to rest. With regards to tampering, I strongly disagree with the conclusions and punishment. You can strongly disagree all you want. That's what they found. Okay. However, I will accept the outcome because the most important thing is that there is no distractions for our team as we begin an exciting and winning season. I will not allow anything to get in the way of that. Mr. Ross, what do I say to a man that has everything? Okay. Mr. Ross, on many different occasions, has allowed off the field issues to be a distraction for this head football team. This isn't the first time we've had to deal with something off the field because of Mr. Stephen Ross. This is the umpteenth time. So I find it very hypocritical that in your last two statements you will say, the most important thing is that there's no distractions for our team as we begin an exciting and winning season. I will not allow anything to get in the way of that. I'm sorry, the biggest hypocrite here, you can call, y'all can call Brian Flores a rat, whatever you want to do it. That is not the case. But I better see that same energy from those people about Mr. Ross too. Because that man is the biggest hypocrite I have ever seen. Now, the last 2.5 months of this football team, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this team goes. I'm excited to see what this team has to do. But the last 2.5 months do not in any way, shape, or form allow you the opportunity to just scapegoat or walk on everything else that has happened over the last 10 plus years in this organization, Mr. Ross. I'm holding you accountable for this. I'm not holding anybody else accountable. You're the leader of this football team. I do want to state that these are my opinions. You do not have to agree with them. You do not have to like them. You don't even have to listen to them. You can turn my channel off. Now, I hope that that's not the case. I hope you guys come back, you watch more stuff, you enjoy the morning show here, because I do believe I give everybody an opportunity to have an opinion. I'm not able to have a full blown out panel and discussion. That's for tomorrow. That's Wildin' Out Wednesday. You will have that tomorrow morning. Clock Blockers, home of the #1 Miami fan morning show, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to do that. But I felt the need to obviously talk about what was said today. And before I wrap up and finish, let me also state that Brian Flores and his legal team also made a statement today. Okay. I am thankful for the NFL's investigator found my factual allegations against Stephen Ross are true. At the same time, I am disappointed to learn that the investigator minimized Mr. Ross's offers and pressure to tank games, especially when I wrote and submitted a letter at the time to the Dolphins executives documenting my serious concerns regarding this subject at the time, which the investigator has in her possession. While the investigator found that the Dolphins had engaged in impermissible tampering of unprecedented scope and severity, Mr. Ross will avoid any meaningful consequence. There is nothing more important when it comes to the game of football itself than the integrity of the game. When the integrity of the game is called into question, fans suffer and football suffers. And then from his legal team, we have always been very confident that Coach Flores will ultimately be substantiated when it comes to his legal claims and allegations. Today marks the first step in that process, as the NFL's independent investigator, Mary Jo White, has confirmed the truth of Brian's allegations of tampering. While we vehemently disagree with the conclusions regarding the tanking allegations, we note that the investigator confirmed the accuracy of the factual allegations made by Mr. Flores. We are certainly disheartened by the investigator, and apparently the commissioner excused highly inappropriate comments that go to the heart of the game's integrity regarding tanking as being in jest, especially when it was a letter written by Coach Flores at the time demonstrating the gravity with which these comments were received by Coach Flores. Again, you can say that I haven't provided any facts. I'm merely going on my interpretation of what I have read based on an independent invest. All right, I'm back. I don't know what happened. I froze. Technical problems. Sorry about that. Let me wrap up what I'm saying here. Roach is not trying to sabotage me. I love this football team. I think there's an interpretation here that people are going to interpret what they are reading their own way through their own eyes. And that's a fair thing to do. I don't have a problem if you see it one way and I see it another way. But what I will say for the sake of the conversation is I believe that in my heart of hearts, Brian Flores is a good man who only wanted the best, but definitely had issues of his own when it comes to coaching that I would definitely be very critical about, but that's not what this conversation is for. I will say that Stephen Ross wants to win, and he will do anything to win. And I, as a fan, want to know that my owner cares about winning and not just making a profit, which he clearly does. But what I will also say about Stephen Ross is every time he's made a decision, at least 95% of the time, it's been the wrong one. It's been the wrong one. And, I think there's something to be said of that. I think there's something to be said of that. The definition of insanity, and people hate me saying this, is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And we clearly let Stephen Ross keep on making decisions for this football team when they have not transpired into wins. Now, we have won over 500 the last 2 years as a football team. But where is the playoff wins? Where are the playoff contenders? Where are the Super Bowl contenders? And if the last 2.5 months are anything to say, I'm excited. I'm excited. And Mr. Ross was the one that was signing the checks that Greer was getting these people to come in. And I think that at the end of the day, am I sad that we lost this first round pick? Of course I am. 100%. But I think that we'll get through it. And I think that this regime, when it comes to Greer and McDaniel, my hope and prayer, how about that? My hope and prayer is that this works out and that Tua works out and we're able to go and we're able to win a lot of games and take the NFL by storm. But I also hate the fact that August 2nd, our first full day of pads, I'm not talking about the first full day of pads, that I'm talking about something else totally unrelated to on the field stuff. That's how I feel about it. Some of you disagree with me, and I respect your disagreements, and I respect your viewpoints, and I cannot wait to hear them tomorrow. Right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network on Clock Blockers. So I hope you all enjoy everything. Sorry for the technical difficulties that I was having earlier. And we're gonna have a great show tomorrow. It's Wildin' Out Wednesday. It's gonna be crazy. I want to thank all of you in the chat that were able to donate to the channel, help the channel grow. There's a lot of ways to help. If you if you are not able to donate monetarily, please donate in the form of hitting the like button and sharing this video. That goes such a long way into helping the channel grow. But I do love each and every one of you. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video today. And I hope that you join me every morning on Clock Blockers or right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Let's go. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Clock Blockers. Peace.